standards that were agreed to by the industry in the year 2012. 1 week ago, EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt announced his decision to roll back federal fuel economy emission standards. He said that the current standards are, quote, wrong and too high. That statement is as wrong as a $50 a night condo in Washington, D.C. The historic fuel economy emission standards adopted during the Obama administration are saving consumers money at the pump. They are protecting our national security by reducing our reliance on foreign oil. They are fostering innovation and American competitiveness, and they are the biggest weapon we have in our battle against climate change. In 2007, I was the lead author in the House of Representatives in passing the legislation which gave the Department of Transportation the ability to raise the fuel economy standards. They rely upon Massachusetts versus EPA. They relied upon the California waiver. There was an agreement reached with the auto industry. They said they would abide by it. We gave them billions of dollars as a result of that deal. They can meet those goals, and we are going to fight any attempts to water them down. Let me turn now and recognize our great environmental champion, Sheldon Whitehouse, for our state.
I'll be very brief because there are a lot of folks here. My point echoes what Senator Markey has said. The fuel economy standards that we are operating under now were entered into voluntarily by America's auto manufacturers. They went before the American public and they made a public promise as to what they would do. They are now hiding behind their trade association and breaking their word to the American public. This is not responsible corporate behavior, particularly not when you look at what the companies say publicly about their commitment to addressing climate change. You can't say on your website that you're serious about clean energy, clean transportation, and climate change, and then work through your trade association to undo a promise that you made to the American people. That is wrong on so many levels.
Well, there's so many reasons why the decision by this administration is wrong. Every time we have set energy efficiency standards for the auto industry, we've achieved those standards. And American innovation has been much more competitive. We've created products that are much better for Americans and much more globally competitive every time we raise the standards. And we've met those standards. I particularly want to thank the policymakers in California for establishing a standard that the auto industry said could not be met, but was met without difficulty. And we were able to achieve not only savings for the consumers, because energy costs money, and saving energy saves money. This is an economic plus for the consumers. We also helped save our environment. Transportation is the leading cause of greenhouse gas emissions. We've been able to bring that down. So for the sake of our economy, for the sake of our environment, and by the way, also for the sake of our national security, because it makes us more energy self-sufficient. And lastly, predictability is important. And we've given predictability on the CAFE standards. What the Trump administration now doing is producing uncertainty, which is not going to be good for American car manufacturing.
Well, let's
Jeff Merkley.
Thank you. Let's just simply talk about money in the pockets of middle-class America. Between now and the year 2025, the fuel standards will save $40 billion. $40 billion, $5 billion a year. Not a single taxpayer dollar having to go into it. Money in the pocket of every family that drives a car using fossil fuels, which is most the families in America. And if we extend that vision out to 2050, we're talking now $400 billion back in the pockets of Americans. That's a fabulous amount of additional assistance that families can direct to the quality of life in every other possible way. Or to think about it, break it down by family per year, that's over $300 per family per year of savings in buying gas. That's a huge reason just by itself to stick with the direction we're headed. Of course, the work towards fuel economy drives innovation. That drives and stimulates our economy in all kinds of other ways, puts us on a firm ground to be competitive with China, which is working very hard to seize the lead on clean air and fuel-saving technology. Why do we want to let China be the leader in the world? America needs to be the leader in the world. And then let's simply talk about the environment. We're talking about a difference of about 3 billion tons of carbon in the air by the year 2050, 3 billion tons. Now, we have seen the profound impact effects on the ground from carbon pollution. You see it certainly in the fact that in my home state in Oregon, the pine beetles are doing well and the forests are doing poorly. The forest fires are thriving and the forests are burning up. The oysters now can't reproduce without artificially buffering the water. And if you look at the coral reefs around the world, et cetera, in fact, because of the storms that were amplified by climate and warmer oceans this past year, it's estimated that it cost our nation $300 billion last year alone, $300 billion. So this is a win-win. Fuel economy standards are win-win for the average family with money in their pocket, certainly a win in driving innovation, and certainly a win in taking on carbon pollution that's doing enormous damage to our nation and to the world. And now, Michael Bennet.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Administrator Pruitt's announcement last week was just another example of the Trump administration's causing severe damage for the benefit of nobody. There's no apparent winner because of what they've done. For an administration that touts itself as pro-business, I simply cannot understand the decision. Is Administrator Pruitt trying to make American cars less competitive? Is he trying to stifle American innovation? That's the effect of what he's done. And I understand that the administration has an interest in reducing regulatory burdens for industry. There's certainly areas where that should happen. But common sense vehicle rules that were developed in collaboration with the auto industry that will save families, as Senator Merkley was saying, money, should not be a victim of Administrator Pruitt's thoughtless agenda. His rollback of regulations is getting ridiculous. Business wants certainty, and that's not what Administrator Pruitt is providing. He's wasting taxpayer dollars and valuable staff time on litigation. The people of America expect more from our leaders. The people of Colorado certainly do. That's why I've yet to hear from a single business in my state that's voicing concerns about EPA's vehicle standards. On the contrary, numerous companies have reached out to voice their real concern for what Administrator Pruitt is doing and their support to keep the standards in place. The Colorado Department of Public Health urged EPA to maintain the standards and explicitly mentioned that Colorado might consider adopting California's vehicle standards if the EPA relaxes them. The governor and more than 50 local government officials in Colorado have spoken out against Administrator Pruitt's reckless decision. With these standards, America was on track to create the most efficient cars in the world. We need to maintain that progress and continue America's leadership in this industry as well as others. And with that, I turn it over to my colleague from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you to Eddie Markey and my colleagues and the experts here. Look, the Trump-Pruitt plan has it exactly backwards. Under their plan, air pollution goes up, the amount of money in consumers' pockets goes down. We heard the figure from Jeff Merkley, about $300 a year for American family saved. The Trump administration, Pruitt, want those $300 to go straight to the oil companies. There's a reason that the Koch brothers pushed so hard way back to get Scott Pruitt nominated as EPA director, because he was going to do their bidding, and the Koch brothers have joined the auto industry in lobbying to overturn these regulations. Why? Because that money will go right to the oil companies, it'll go right to Koch brothers' interests, and it'll go right out of the pockets of American consumers. So $300 a year out of the pockets of American families into the pockets of Koch brothers and the oil industry. That is bad for America. The public is against it. That's why we're going to fight back and make sure we do right by consumers and do right by folks who want to have healthy air and stop the air pollution.
Beautiful. Next, we're going to hear from Janet McCabe, former Acting Assistant Administrator at the Office of Air and Radiation at EPA.
Thank you, Senator Markey and Senator Merkley and all the departing senators. Incredible leadership that you all are showing on this issue, and those of us that live out in the rest of the country are ever so grateful for how you're keeping on top of these things. My point is a simple one. I'm here as somebody who worked in the Obama administration at EPA, worked on the first midterm review, and want to emphasize to you the incredible amount of highly technical, thorough work that went into producing that first midterm review. These are factual determinations. Are the technologies there? How much will they cost? What will the cars be able to do? What will the automakers be able to do? And most importantly, what will that do to air emissions, greenhouse gases, and other air pollutants that are causing health damage to citizens and residents around the country? And I hope that people will look very carefully at that record if and as this attempt to roll back these standards moves forward. The standards are the same today as they were a year ago, and they will stay the same until EPA does a rulemaking where they can point to a record that they can defend in court that shows that a different outcome is appropriate. And my view is that they will not be able to do that because of the strong work of the auto industry that has been the triumph of innovation and technology over decades, bringing cleaner air to people across this country. So this is just the beginning, and people will be watching every step along the way to make sure that these standards are protected. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Dan Becker, Director of the Safe Climate Campaign at the Sierra Club.
Safe Climate Campaign.
Thank-
No longer Sierra Club.
No.
That was a few years ago. These standards are the biggest single step any nation has ever taken to combat global warming and oil use. And the administration is trying to undo them to make America polluted again. And they want to do it by having the automakers make gas-guzzling Trumpmobiles to substitute for the cleaner vehicles that Americans really both need and want. If they succeed, which these senators are going to help prevent, we'll pay more at the pump, breathe more polluted air, and the automakers themselves will suffer because they will lose the competitive edge that they've won under these standards when they've had record sales and record profits. And consumers will pay vastly more at the gas pump. So thanks to the senators for your leadership, and we look forward to working with you to prevent the rollbacks.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Thank you. Now Tiernan Sidenfeld, from Senior Vice President for Government Affairs at the League of Conservation Voters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Markey, and thanks to all of the other senators who've been here today for their powerful words and incredible leadership in pushing back against the Trump administration's endless assault on the environment and public health. These clean car standards are common sense, they're extremely popular, and they're a big success. They are doing exactly what they were intended to do. They are saving consumers money at the gas pump. They are protecting our health and our climate. They are reducing our dependence on oil, and they are creating jobs, especially on the heels of the devastating climate change-fueled hurricanes and wildfires. It is so clear that reducing emissions from the transportation sector, which is now our country's largest source of greenhouse gas emissions, has never been more important to combating the climate crisis. Attempting to roll back these standards shows once again just how out of touch Scott Pruitt is with people across the country and how deep in the pockets of polluters he truly is. Polling shows that 87% of people in this country, across party lines, want the automakers to continue to improve fuel efficiency. But time and again, Scott Pruitt has shown an utter disregard for the American people and for the very mission of the EPA to protect human health and the environment. Instead, he has catered to polluters at every opportunity. As has been well documented, Scott Pruitt is now mired in scandal and under 8 federal investigations for his corrupt actions and his shady connections to the fossil fuel industry. Rolling back these clean car standards epitomizes that corruption. It's no wonder he gave a sweetheart deal to an industry represented by the lobbyist who gave him a sweetheart condo deal. We will continue to fight to defend these clean car standards and to push back against President Trump and Administrator Pruitt at every step of the way. The clean car standards must stay, and Scott Pruitt must go. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. We thank all of these incredible advocates, experts, for giving us the information which we need so that we can communicate it to the public. So what is happening is that, once again, we have big oil and big auto coming together as an alliance to try to water down the fuel economy standards of our country. And it is, it's the Koch brothers and Chrysler, together, working to accomplish these goals. And so that's why I'm introducing the Gas Money Saved Act to put the brakes on Scott Pruitt's attempts to gut these standards. This legislation would reaffirm the final determination made by the EPA in 2017 that the 2012 fuel economy emission standards are appropriate. The Gas Money Saved Act would also block Administrator Pruitt from issuing rules to weaken the emission standards for vehicles through 2025. We can't allow Scott Pruitt to put us in reverse on these strong standards. And we will block any attempt to rescind California's waiver or attack the authority that California or other states like Massachusetts have under the Clean Air Act to put strong standards in place. We will fight it if they try to put it in the budget. We will fight it if they try to put it in another omnibus. We will fight it if they try to put it in any other must-pass bill. We will fight it. We will make this a national issue. And so we thank all of you for being here. And if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Yes, sir.
Do you anticipate this may embolden states to act independently akin to the way California has? And would you advise your governor to do that?
The Attorney General of Massachusetts, Maura Healey, is already on board, as our attorneys general across the whole country. They see this as something that is their state's right in order to protect their environment, to protect their citizens. And I think that there is going to be a very mighty legal battle as well as political battle that breaks out if they decide to move in that direction. Question from anyone? Yes, sir.
You mentioned trying to block any attempts to put a California waiver on the must-pass bill. Is that something you've been hearing of? Is that something you expect to be coming down the pipeline?
I expect them to try to do anything they can to damage the environment. It has been the one promise that Donald Trump has kept. He is the worst environmental president in history. He's named the worst people to his cabinet on the environment in history. He continues to praise Scott Pruitt as great. And when he means great, he means doing a great job in totally watering down the environmental protections of our country. So we expect them to try to exhaust all legislative opportunities as well to take these protections off the books. Thank you all so much for being here. Appreciate it.